welcome back to Romans chapter 3. And for the last two chapters, Paul's been putting everybody in the same boat. Everybody's guilty before God, the heathens, the moral people, and now even the Jews. And Paul says, hey, you are all guilty before God. And we saw last time that the Jews didn't care so much for being put in the boat with everybody else. And they've been throwing up some smoke screens, some excuses, really some distractions, so they don't have to deal with the issue at hand, which is they're guilty before God. And we said that last time that there are three smoke screens, and we're calling them the three buts, B-U-T-S. Last time we looked at the first one, and today we'll look at the other two. Smokescreen number 2 goes like this. But God promised us Jews that we were His own special people, and God doesn't break His promises. Verse 3. For what if some did not believe? This is the Jew arguing. This is the smokescreen. What if some did not believe? Will their unbelief make the faithfulness of God without effect? In other words, Paul, God told Abraham that we Jews are His own special people. We're sons of Abraham. We are God's own special people. Are you saying that because we didn't live up to the standards or because of our unbelief that God broke His promise? We're not His own special people anymore? And Paul comes back with the answer in verse 4. Certainly not. And in the Greek, this is the strongest possible way to say it. Like, not a chance. Don't even think about that. Don't even say that. Indeed, let God be true, but every man a liar. People go back on their word, but God never does. As it is written, that you may be justified in your words and may overcome when you are judged. No one will ever be able to point their finger at God and say, Mr. Judge, you didn't do what you said, because God always keeps His word. You Jews have always had the words of God, even though you didn't keep it. God has always been speaking to the nations through you, even though you yourself often didn't really believe in what you were teaching others. God has always been keeping His word to you. Now, let's stop all of these smoke screens and get back to the issue at hand. You are guilty before God. But the Jew here, he's not quite ready to do that. He's got one final smoke screen. And I'll tell you, you're not going to believe it. It's really lame. It's kind of pathetic. But at this point, it's just desperation. He's just throwing whatever he can to get out of this very uncomfortable situation. Do we ever do that? Oh, yeah. Sometimes you feel God knocking on your heart and you need to start being kind to your spouse or demonstrating love, sacrifice your desires for somebody else's, lay down your life. And instead of dealing with the issues, because that can be really hard, you can start getting obsessed with, I wonder who the Antichrist is. It's a smokescreen. It's something religious that distracts us from facing what we really need to face. And that's exactly what's happening here. So here's the third very lame smokescreen. Verse number 5. But if our unrighteousness demonstrates the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Is God unjust who inflicts wrath? I speak as a man. In other words, okay, so maybe we Jews are also guilty before God. I guess God wants everybody to be guilty, so we'll be guilty. But aren't we really helping God out by being so guilty? Because it makes God look good by comparison. In other words, the more sinful I am, the better God looks by contrast. Like we're doing God a favor. So isn't it unfair of God to judge us if we're making Him look so good? That's the argument. This is a desperate argument. This is grasping at straws. And Paul doesn't even take it too seriously. He just simply says in verse 6, certainly not. Like, come on, man, give me a break. For then, how will God judge the world? How's God going to judge the world at all? Paul is kind of saying sarcastically, hey, your argument that our sinfulness is a good thing because it makes God look good, come on, that's it? That's all you've got? That would mean that all the murderers, all the rapists are actually good people because, well, they're just making God look good for judging their sin. That's ridiculous. God can never set anything right that way. He says, how then can God judge the world? Well, Paul continues with this sarcasm in verse 7. He can kind of letting this play out. For if the truth of God has increased through my lie to his glory, why am I also still judged as a sinner? And why not say, let us do evil, that good may come, as we are slanderously reported, and as some affirm that we say, their condemnation is just. Apparently, there were some people running around twisting Paul's message into something like this. So Paul is just setting the record straight here. And he's saying that's a bunch of baloney. Well, verse 9, what then? Are we better than they? In other words, are we Jews better than the Gentiles? And the answer comes back, not at all. Advantages? Yes. But better? No. No, we are not. For we have previously charged both Jews and Greeks that they are all under sin. So Paul's getting back to the main issue. He's saying, let's stop with all of these smoke screens and get back to the big issue, the elephant in the room. Verse 10, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. You know what none means? It means none. Not the heathens, not the moral people, not the religious people, not the Jewish people. He says there is none righteous, not even one. That includes the Jews, and it includes all of us. Even if we are very religious, even if we live according to God's laws, doesn't make us any better than anybody else. Are there advantages to following God's law? Man, absolutely. It will make your life better. It will make it amazingly better. Does it make us more deserving than anyone else? No, it doesn't. We all stand equally guilty before God. So, what are we to do? If we can't drink away our guilt like the heathen, or try to drown it out, or guilt it out, like the moralist, or Sunday morning our way out of guilt like the religious people, if none of that can actually save us, if it can't wash away our guilt, then what can? Well, that's what we're going to get into tomorrow. I'll see you then.